Chosen one. Listen carefully. The sound rising around you isn't just another moment passing, it's the final bell of a long examination. Heaven has spoken your name in the unseen realm. The test is finished. You didn't even realize how many times you were being weighed and measured through silence, through betrayal, through the quiet battle of obedience when no one applauded. Yet heaven saw it all, and heaven decided you passed. You stand now where few ever reach the threshold between testing and revelation. Every trial was a hidden classroom. Every closed door was a divine lesson written in invisible ink. You were never being punished, you were being prepared. Picture this: a seed buried beneath the soil, darkness pressing from every side. No sound, no light, only waiting. But that darkness wasn't death, it was transformation. The moment the soil cracked open, the seed emerged. Radiant, unstoppable. That's you now. You were never buried to die. You were planted to rise. There once was a chosen one before you, unknown, unseen. They prayed through countless midnights, asking, "Why me?" But heaven was cultivating endurance in secret. When the breakthrough finally came, they realized the waiting had turned them into someone who could handle the weight of blessing. That same unseen training has been shaping you. You weren't forgotten, you were forged in silence. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 3, the crucible is for silver, and the furnace for gold. But the Lord tests the heart. That's what your journey has been. The Lord testing your heart, refining your motives, sharpening your discernment. You didn't crumble. You didn't lose your faith. You came out of the fire carrying something eternal. Now take a moment. Look at yourself, not through the lens of pain, but through the eyes of heaven. The scars you carry aren't proof of defeat, they're evidence of survival. Every wound became a doorway where light now enters. You've become a living testimony that endurance births strength and that hidden seasons build unshakable faith. Feel the shift inside you. It's like wind moving through the strings of a harp, soft, steady, undeniable. That's heaven's whisper telling you it's time. Time to rise. Time to walk in what was once only prophesied. Time to stop doubting and start declaring. If this word reaches deep into you, don't hold it back. Share it. Spread the light. Someone else is still in their dark soil moment, waiting to know they're not alone. Like this message. Subscribe to stay connected to this stream of truth. And comment the number 1212 below as a prophetic act symbolizing divine alignment and the completion of your testing season, not for the sake of hype, but as a marker in the spirit that you have crossed over. You are not an accident drifting through time. You are a chosen instrument in God's design. The trials you faced were heaven's signature training, shaping you for impact. You've been equipped not only with faith, but with the empathy to lift others who are where you once were. Remember, the potter and the clay. Each turn of the wheel felt endless, dizzying, out of control. But the potter's hands never left you. When you thought you were spinning aimlessly, he was forming you precisely. Now the vessel gleams. It's ready for new oil, fresh purpose, fresh revelation, fresh authority. You are entering a phase where everything that once resisted, you will begin to recognize your new identity, not because of status or strength, but because of the quiet confidence of one who has walked with God in the fire. The test didn't just prove your faith, it revealed your essence. Stand firm, walk softly, move only when led by peace. You are aligned now with heaven's rhythm, and that rhythm doesn't rush. You're no longer striving to make things happen, heaven is making them happen through you. The valley that felt endless was really a passageway. The night that felt eternal was actually the prelude to dawn. You have become light in human form, a reminder that every ending carries a resurrection waiting beneath it. So lift your head. Chosen one, the final bell has rung. The examination has ended. Heaven's verdict echoes over your life. Approved, prepared, anointed. You passed. The page turns quietly now. You feel heaven's peace settle where the pressure once lived. No striving, no fear, only clarity. You are ready to walk forward, carrying what the test unlocked inside you. Faith that no fire could burn away. Strength that no storm could shake. Go now and live as proof of grace. Every step from here releases light into dark places. Speak gently. Move boldly. And remember, you are chosen for this exact hour. Crowned not by men, but by the unseen hand of God. Chosen one. The pain you walked through was never meaningless. It was the hidden curriculum of heaven. Every unanswered prayer, every delay, every quiet heartbreak was a sacred classroom where your spirit was being trained. You asked for deliverance, but heaven was giving you development. The lessons were disguised as losses. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. There were seasons when the silence of God was the loudest sound in your life. Nights where you looked at the ceiling and wondered if heaven had forgotten your name. But silence, in the language of the divine, is not absence, it's instruction. God was teaching you how to trust beyond feelings, to recognize His presence not by activity, but by assurance. There's a story whispered among the chosen ones of a man named Elias. He had dreams, prophecies, visions, but nothing seemed to unfold. Every time he stepped forward, something closed. He cried, "God, I'm losing time." But heaven replied, "You're not losing time, you're being synchronized with mine." So he learned to move slower, listen deeper, and in that slowness, he found divine rhythm. When the right door opened, it didn't require force, it recognized him. Your story echoes that truth. Waiting wasn't punishment, it was preparation. While others rushed ahead, heaven was perfecting your foundation. You were learning to hear direction before you made a move. You were learning the strength of stillness, the kind that turns panic into peace. The ancient writings in the letter to the Romans, chapter 5, verses 3 and 4 declare, "We glory in our sufferings, because suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." That is the curriculum you've been studying. Pain, birthing, perseverance. Perseverance, sculpting character. And character, igniting hope. Hope that isn't fragile emotion, but steel-born certainty that all things, even sorrow, are working together for good. The hidden lessons of hardship reshaped your vision. Once, you mistook comfort for favor. Now you understand that favor sometimes looks like fire. That blessing can arrive in disguise. The very moments you thought would destroy you have actually deepened your discernment. You no longer crave what glitters, you recognize what carries true weight. Remember the image of the blacksmith's forge iron, heated, hammered, cooled, then heated again. Every strike looked like punishment. Yet each blow gave form. That's how heaven shaped you. The hammer wasn't wrath, it was refinement. The fire wasn't judgment, it was alignment. And when you felt like everything was falling apart, heaven was fitting everything together in secret. What seemed like the end was only the kiln where strength was born. Even nature whispers your story. A pearl forms only when the oyster wraps pain with layers of grace until the wound becomes beauty. You've done the same, layered faith over frustration until your scars began to shine. That's why your countenance now carries quiet authority. You are not defined by what broke you, but by what grew in you afterward. The storms didn't destroy your calling, they revealed it. What once made you cry now makes you wise. The same valley that tried to drown you has become the stream from which others will drink. Pain, when surrendered to God, transforms into prophecy. It tells the world that even suffering bows to divine purpose. You are living evidence of that truth. The very things that should have ended you have instead equipped you to heal others. Walk forward now with that understanding. You are no longer the student of pain, you are its interpreter. You can now recognize the sacred in the struggle, the divine in delay, the miracle in the mundane. Heaven considers you trustworthy because you learned patience where most demand progress. The hidden curriculum of pain has done its work. You have graduated not with applause, but with wisdom, and wisdom, chosen one, is what sustains miracles when they arrive. Rest now in the knowledge that nothing was wasted. Every tear watered the soil of your destiny. Every disappointment dug the ground where your purpose could take root. The pain that once made you question everything has now become your confirmation that you were always being shaped. Never forgotten. There is a strange peace that follows divine testing, the kind that doesn't shout, but settles deep. You no longer need to prove anything. Your endurance already speaks. You have learned that stillness can be strength, and surrender can be strategy. Carry this wisdom quietly. Move through the world with eyes that see meaning where others see chaos. You've become fluent in heaven's language: patience, faith, and mercy. That is your new strength. The furnace has cooled. The lesson is complete. What remains is gold, your refined heart, your unwavering spirit, your divine maturity. You are ready, chosen one. You have walked through fire and silence. But now comes the season of refining, where gold meets flame and purpose becomes visible. You have been prepared for this moment without realizing it. The furnace you thought would finish you has only purified what was essential. The dross has fallen away. What remains is holy clarity. In the still corners of your memory, there were days when you questioned whether any of it mattered. The loneliness, the battles, the doors that refused to open. But look closely, every trial has left behind a trace of divine architecture. You were being reshaped by unseen hands, molded not for comfort, but for calling. A blacksmith does not forge dull ornaments, he forges swords. And you, chosen one, were never meant to be ornamental faith. You were designed for impact. You were being sharpened through pressure so that your words, your presence, your very life could cut through darkness. There is a moment in every transformation when the fire burns hottest. It's when the metal screams, when the soul nearly breaks. That was you, not long ago, but what you didn't see was the hands holding you steady in the blaze. God never removed you from the flame because he knew the gold inside you was worth the heat. The Spirit once spoke through the prophet Hosea, chapter 6, verse 1. Come, let us return to the Lord, for he has torn us, that he may heal us. He has struck us down, and he will bind us up. That's what the refining season was tearing to heal, striking to strengthen. You were being broken open so that the light within could finally breathe. You may not have noticed it, but you've changed. Your silence now carries authority. Your prayers have weight. Your presence brings calm to storms. You used to fear. This is what refinement looks like, power wrapped in peace. I once heard a story about a young man who prayed for anointing, thinking it would come as fire from heaven. Instead, it came as loss. His job vanished. His friends drifted. His certainty collapsed. But in the ruins, he found revelation, what God anoints. He first empties. When he finally stood again, everything around him was the same. But he was not. He had become the vessel heaven could trust. You too were emptied, but not abandoned. God made space within you so that divine fullness could dwell there. And now, what once broke you becomes the evidence of his craftsmanship. You carry invisible strength, the kind that humbles darkness without words. Every chosen soul must endure this stage, the refining that strips away all illusions. It hurts, but it's holy. The goal is not to make you harder, but purer. Gold doesn't argue with fire. It yields. And in yielding, it shines. Take a breath and look back with new eyes. See the moments that nearly ended you as milestones of transformation. The delays were not denials, they were slow burnings that revealed what was real. Now, as you step into this next phase, carry humility like armor. Stay teachable, even in triumph. The greatest danger after refinement is pride, masquerading as confidence. Remember, the same fire that purified you can melt you if you forget who sustained you in it. Let your scars be sermons. Speak not of how hard it was, but how faithful God has been. Your story now becomes medicine for others who still feel the heat. Tell them it's worth it. Tell them they're not alone. Tell them gold is born in fire. And when your heart feels that quiet surge, that deep knowing that this word is yours, type in the comments, I'm still glowing. Not as a boast, but as a testimony. It means I've been through the fire, and I still carry light. Your words might be the spark someone else needs to endure their own refining. The gold is ready. The light is steady. You, chosen one, are proof that fire cannot destroy what heaven designed. You say the words, I'm still glowing, and heaven takes note. It's not a phrase, it's a declaration. It means your faith survived the pressure. Your worship endured the silence. And your heart remained pure when tested by flame. Those 4 words tell the unseen world that the light inside you refused to go out. When you write them, you align with every chosen one who ever walked through fire and lived to shine. It's a shared language of the refined, a quiet anthem of resilience that echoes across generations. Each comment becomes a spark that strengthens another weary soul still in the furnace. So write it not as repetition, but as revelation. You are still glowing because you are still becoming. Chosen one. When heaven falls silent, the mind begins to race. You replay decisions. Question every sign. Wonder if perhaps you misheard God. Yet, silence is not abandonment, it is instruction. It is in the quiet that the teacher begins his deepest lessons. When the divine voice pauses, it does not disappear. It allows you to hear what cannot be spoken in sound. You remember the long nights of stillness, when prayer felt like speaking into air. But in those moments, your soul was learning a language older than words, the language of trust. God was not ignoring you. He was training you to recognize His presence even when He didn't speak. That is maturity in faith, to walk without constant reassurance, to move when only peace leads the way. The story of your silence was the story of shaping. A sculptor does not speak while he carves. The strikes of the chisel are his conversation. Likewise, heaven's silence was the rhythm of creation. Each quiet moment, a deliberity, stroke shaping your destiny. You may not have seen progress, but transformation was unfolding invisibly. Think of the roots of a tree, silent, unseen, yet relentless. When the storms come, it is not the visible branches that hold the tree, it's the roots that no one applauds. That's what the silent seasons have done for you. They've rooted you deeply in faith so that no storm can uproot you. As declared in the book of Psalms, chapter 62, verse 5, "For God alone my soul waits in silence, for my hope is from Him." David wrote these words, not in triumph, but in tension. Waiting became his worship. You have walked the same path, learning to find stillness, not as emptiness, but as evidence of divine order. In one story told by the elders, there was a woman named Leah who spent years praying for clarity. She begged God for signs, dreams, confirmations, but nothing came. One evening, exhausted, she stopped asking. She sat quietly, breathing. In that stillness, she felt peace she couldn't explain, and she realized what she needed was not another word from heaven, but rest in the word already given. From that day, silence became her sanctuary, not her torment. That is the shift that happens when you mature in the Spirit. You no longer panic when heaven pauses. You no longer confuse silence with separation. You begin to realize that the absence of new instruction often means you're already walking in obedience. The silence was never empty. It was sacred. It held the weight of unspoken promises, the beauty of unseen protection. While you thought heaven was still, heaven was securing details beyond your reach. Contracts you never saw were being signed in the invisible realm. Alignments were forming. People were moving. And time was being synchronized, all while you waited. And that waiting became your shield. Had you moved when you wanted to, you would have collided with things that weren't ready for you. The silence was saving you from premature exposure. It's in these silent seasons that heaven watches the heart. Faith built in noise can waver when applause fades. But faith built in silence stands unshaken. You are now standing on that foundation. You don't need proof to believe anymore. You've learned to breathe in trust. Look back gently at those quiet months or years. The world saw inactivity, but heaven saw obedience. The fact that you didn't run, didn't curse, didn't give up, that alone was worship. Silence taught you resilience that noise could never give. Now, when others around you panic because they can't feel God, you understand. You know He hides sometimes not to punish, but to mature, like a teacher who steps aside during a test, trusting that the student has learned enough to continue. The hardest test was never the pain, it was the pause. but you passed it. You kept walking when no one clapped, believing when no one understood. And now, that silence has turned into strength. When God speaks again, and He will, you will recognize His voice, not because it's loud, but because you've met Him in quietness. Your ears have been tuned by stillness, your heart refined by patience. So do not despise the hush. The quiet places are where kings are crowned in secret. The world sees the victory, but heaven sees the silence that built it. The teacher may have seemed absent, but the truth is simple. He was sitting beside you the whole time, waiting for you to discover that silence, too, is a form of presence. And now that you know this, you'll never fear the still moments again. Silence has become your sanctuary, your secret strength, your sacred sign that heaven is near, even when it doesn't speak. Chosen one, the time of unveiling has come. The seal of your silence has been broken, and revelation now begins to flow like living water. What was once hidden is about to be revealed, not just around you, but through you. You are stepping into a season where heaven begins to explain the why behind the pain. You may feel a stirring inside you, as if your spirit recognizes what your mind cannot yet name. That is because understanding is dawning. The fragments of your story are coming together into divine symmetry. What you once called confusion was actually choreography. Heaven was arranging the rhythm of your becoming, as declared in the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, verse 16. I will lead the blind by ways they have not known. Along unfamiliar paths I will guide them. I will turn the darkness into light before them. Oh, that is precisely what is happening now. You are being led by unfamiliar paths, routes that make no sense to logic, but are perfectly mapped in the divine blueprint. You have walked by faith, and now faith will show you what it was building all along. Think of your life as a tapestry. Up close, all you saw were tangled threads, dark lines crossing light, knots that seemed meaningless. But now, heaven lifts the fabric for you to see the pattern. The colors that clashed were never mistakes, they were balance. The dark threads made the bright ones shine brighter. And suddenly, it all makes sense. You start to see that the test wasn't about endurance alone, it was about revelation. You were never meant to survive, only you were meant to understand. The insight you now carry will help others navigate what once nearly broke you. When the light of understanding enters, peace follows. It's like sunrise over a battlefield. The chaos remains for a moment, but everything changes because you can finally see. The shadows lose their power when the source of light is revealed. And if you feel that warmth right now, like something inside you just exhaled, know that it's the sign of arrival. You've crossed into revelation territory. The questions that haunted you are giving way to answers wrapped in peace. Now, allow this moment to breathe. You've received much. Your spirit is full. And from that fullness, I want to speak something gentle to your heart. If this word has touched you, let your heart respond naturally. Press like as a quiet amen. A digital candle flickering in gratitude. Share this message if you sense someone else is still wandering in their night. When you share, you're not just clicking, you're releasing a lantern that might reach their darkness before dawn does. Subscribe, so this stream of light can keep finding you when you need it most. Like a faithful messenger that returns with new manna for each day. And to those who feel stirred to sow, listen closely. Donating is not a duty, it's a ripple. When you give, You are sending your light farther downstream so that another soul can drink from the same river that refreshed you. Every offering is a stone dropped in still water, and its rings reach hearts you may never meet. No pressure, no price, only invitation. The act itself is worship when it comes from peace. You give not because you must, but because you can. Not because you owe, but because you overflow. Each small gesture, a like, a share, a word, a seed becomes part of this growing constellation of hope. Together, they form a map for those still trying to find the light. Chosen one. That is how heaven expands its reach, not through command, but through compassion. When hearts align in generosity, the message travels faster than any algorithm. It becomes wind in divine sails. So, whether you simply listen, or you light a candle, or you sow a seed, know that every act born of love multiplies the revelation. The light that found you now travels through you, and that, more than anything, is how heaven keeps its promises alive. You are part of something larger now, a movement of light disguised as words, carried by hearts like yours. Every small act of kindness becomes a spark that fuels this divine current. Nothing given in love ever fades, it only travels. So if you've felt seen in these words, let that gratitude become motion, whether through prayer, encouragement, or quiet support. Each gesture keeps the flame alive. The revelation is not ending here, it's expanding through you. Walk forward softly, knowing your light is no longer borrowed, it's inherited, and the world will feel its warmth. Chosen one. The scroll of identity is opening before you. What was once written in mystery is now being revealed line by line. You have been asking heaven, who am I? Really? And this is the moment the answer begins to echo through your spirit. You are not just a survivor of storms, you are a carrier of divine signature. Everything you endured has been engraving your name in heaven's archives. The pain didn't erase you, it authenticated you. The silence didn't mean absence, it was the sound of your identity being carved in eternity. You have not been waiting for favor. Favor has been waiting for you to recognize who you are. There comes a point in every chosen one's journey when identity stops being a theory and becomes revelation. You feel it now like electricity under the skin, like the whisper of your true name somewhere deep within your chest. You are starting to remember yourself, the version of you heaven always knew before the world mislabeled you. You are not the one who was rejected, you are the one who was reserved. You were not overlooked, you were hidden for a holy unveiling. Every misunderstanding, every exclusion, every delay, it all guarded what was sacred about you. The wisdom of Solomon in Proverbs, chapter 2, verse 10 to 11, declares, "For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will watch over you. Understanding will guard you." No, this wisdom has now taken residence within you. It has become your protection. The divine awareness that allows you to walk with quiet authority. You no longer chase validation. You radiate certainty. There was once a young artist, unnoticed and unseen, who painted in silence for years. No gallery, no fame, just brush strokes guided by faith. One day, a stranger found her work tucked in a dusty corner and asked, "Who made this?" When she answered softly, "I did." She realized that was the first time she had said her calling aloud. The acknowledgement didn't come from the world, It began the moment she accepted her own identity. You are that artist. Heaven has been waiting for you to say out loud what it already knows. You are chosen. The moment you believe that, every false name falls away. The labels given by pain, failure, or people lose power. You begin to walk as one who remembers where they come from. Identity is not discovered, it is remembered. It has been written since before your first breath. The challenges you faced were mirrors, meant to reveal what you carry, not destroy it. Every time you were told, "You're too much," heaven was saying, "You're exactly enough." And now, identity begins to manifest outwardly. The light you carry no longer hides it, attracts. People will start to notice something different, though they won't be able to name it. That difference is your divine signature showing through, the mark of someone who knows who they are in the spirit. You will notice your decisions becoming clearer, your peace more stable. You will stop trying to fit where you no longer belong. Like a lion that finally recognizes its own reflection in the water, you will rise differently. You are not here to blend in. You are here to stand out with grace, to remind the world that heaven still writes stories through human hearts. And in this moment, heaven invites you to seal this realization with an act of agreement. Comment the number 555 below, not as ritual, but as recognition. It is the number of divine transformation, the symbol of shifting from hidden to seen, from wondering to knowing. When you type it, you are not typing digits, you are declaring alignment. I know who I am now. Lock. As your identity awakens, the atmosphere around you will respond. Doors will open, not because you knock harder, but because they recognize your name. Battles will quiet, not because you fight stronger, but because darkness knows who you are and whom you belong to. This is the unveiling. The scroll is no longer sealed. Heaven reads your name aloud, and creation listens. You have stepped from confusion into clarity, from questions into confirmation. The world will soon see what heaven already knows, that you are chosen, not by coincidence, but by covenant. When you comment 555, you are not joining a trend, you are marking transformation. It's your silent Amen, your public whisper that the waiting is over and the true you has awakened. Each number typed becomes a lighted step on your path, guiding you forward into full recognition of your divine identity. Chosen one. Something in the unseen realm has begun to move around you. The air feels heavier, not with burden, but with significance. When you stepped into the awareness of who you are, it caused a shift, not only within your heart, but also in the order of heaven itself. Angels respond to identity. They recognize authority. When you finally see yourself as heaven sees you, all of creation begins to rearrange to accommodate that revelation. For a long time, you prayed for help, for rescue, for intervention. But now, the tone of heaven toward you changes. You are no longer being treated as a child who must be carried, but as an heir who can command. The realm of the spirit does not respond to fear, it responds to faith. And faith, at its highest form, is identity remembered. When you wake up knowing who you are, your atmosphere obeys that awareness. Fear no longer negotiates with you. Confusion cannot find a home within you. You have shifted from surviving to governing. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is standing in the position you were always meant to occupy. Imagine the heavens as a vast orchestra. Every note represents a purpose. Every movement, a divine assignment. When you were lost in doubt, your instrument was silent. But the moment you stepped into identity, your sound returned. Now, heaven's symphony adjusts its tempo to match the rhythm of your purpose. The writings of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9, speak with timeless power. Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. That promise is not comfort, it's commissioning. You are not being comforted anymore. You are being activated. God is saying, step forward, for I am already there. You do not wait for the path to appear. Your faith carves it as you move. A new awareness brings new responsibility. When heaven repositions you, it also expects you to move differently. Old habits lose their meaning. Old fears lose their grip. You find yourself drawn toward peace, even when chaos calls. You begin to discern that not every invitation deserves your presence. Some battles are no longer yours to fight because you've outgrown them. In this shift, the invisible becomes more real than what you can touch. You sense protection even when you walk through uncertainty. You feel guidance even when you cannot trace its source. This is what it means to live surrounded by the unseen host of heaven, angelic forces, realigning the field around your destiny. Once, you felt alone. Now, when you step into a room, something shifts even before you speak. It's not the noise of charisma, it's the weight of assignment. Darkness recognizes authority long before people do. You've become a walking reminder that light still reigns. Let this awareness humble you, not inflate you. Power, without humility, collapses under its own weight. Remember, even angels bow before the one who sent them. You are not the source of the light. You are its vessel. You are a lamp lit by eternal fire, carried into rooms that need illumination. Think of yourself as a lighthouse standing on the shore. You do not chase the ships, you shine. You don't follow waves, you remain. Those who are lost will see your light and adjust their course. Not because you shouted, but because you stayed. That's what spiritual maturity looks like. Steady brilliance, not loud noise. This shift in the realm will also test your discernment. You'll begin to sense opposition not as chaos, but as confirmation. Resistance is proof that your movement matters. But you no longer react with panic. You respond with prayer. You don't beg for safety. You decree peace. You've learned that authority speaks differently. It speaks from rest. In the coming days, you may notice coincidences multiplying songs, verses, numbers, faces that carry messages meant for you. These are not random. They're signatures of heaven's coordination, signs that the spiritual infrastructure around you is active. Every encounter, every delay, every closed door will start to feel less like accident and more like orchestration. The shift in the spiritual realm is not loud, yet it is absolute. You can feel it in how people respond to you, how peace follows you, how clarity comes quickly when confusion tries to return. You've entered a level where alignment is automatic. What belongs to you gravitates toward you. What doesn't drifts away without struggle. Stand firm in this awareness. The realm of heaven has recognized your growth. And now, creation will respond accordingly. You have crossed a threshold where your prayers become decrees. Your presence becomes strategy. and your silence carries authority. You are no longer just being protected, you are participating in heaven's movement. The realm has shifted because you have. Chosen one. As the realm around you shifts, so too does the landscape of your life. What once stood against you now begins to serve you. The very forces that opposed your progress are being restructured by divine order. This is the season where enemies are exposed and tables begin to turn, not through revenge, but through revelation. You see, God's justice is not loud or rushed. It moves like the tide, slow, steady, and unstoppable. When He acts, He does not simply remove your enemies, He redeems the story. What was meant for harm becomes harvest. What was sent to break you becomes the stage where His glory is displayed. At times, you wondered why He didn't intervene sooner. You saw injustice thrive, lies go unchallenged, betrayal rewarded. But heaven's timing is different from human impulse. God allows certain things to grow, not to endorse them, but to ensure that when the exposure comes, it is undeniable, as declared in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 7. The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble. He knows those who take refuge in Him. When you are one of those who took refuge, and heaven has taken note, the delay was not neglect, it was divine setup. Every injustice was recorded, every whisper counted, every tear preserved. And now, as the realm shifts, God begins to balance the scales. The exposure of your enemies is not for your entertainment, but for your elevation. The truth must surface so that your next chapter can begin clean. Hidden motives will unravel. Deceptive alliances will crumble, and false judgments will reverse. But you are not to celebrate the fall of others. You are to stay still and let righteousness speak for itself. Imagine a courtroom where heaven is the judge, and your trials are presented as evidence. Each false accusation becomes a reason for recompense. The same mouths that once mocked you will soon bear witness to your restoration. But do not gloat. Grace demands humility. Your vindication is not just about proving you right. It is about proving that God's timing is perfect. There was a chosen one before you, named Amara. She was betrayed by those she served, ridiculed by those she helped. She cried out for justice, but heaven was silent. Years passed, and her betrayers prospered. Or so it seemed. One day, what was hidden in secret came to light. The truth, unstoppable as dawn, broke through every lie. Amara did not lift a finger. She simply stayed faithful. And when restoration came, it came in abundance, not as revenge, but as radiant peace. Your journey mirrors hers. You were asked to remain silent when falsely accused, to show mercy when slandered, to keep walking when surrounded by opposition. But that silence was not weakness, it was seed. And that seed has now matured. The turning of tables does not happen with noise. It happens in divine precision. One shift in timing, one unexpected encounter, one revelation, and suddenly everything changes. The same places where you were rejected will call for your wisdom. The same people who questioned your value will seek your insight. You won't need to defend yourself. Your transformation will testify. Justice in the kingdom is never about revenge, it's about revelation. God exposes so that healing can begin, not humiliation. The goal is not to destroy, but to restore order. When enemies fall away, it's because their season in your story has ended. Release them without bitterness. Remember the image of the rising sun. The darkness doesn't argue, it simply retreats. Light never wrestles, it just appears. And that's what this season is. The rising of your vindication, the slow but unstoppable dawn of clarity. Soon, you will look back and realize that every misunderstanding had purpose. If God had defended you earlier, the lesson would have been smaller. But now, the testimony will reach farther. Your pain has become a platform for grace. And as you walk into this new clarity, peace will become your evidence. You will not need to announce that justice has come. Peace will prove it. There will be no need for revenge, because restoration itself will speak louder than any argument ever could. The shift has already begun. The tide that once pulled against you now carries you forward. The storm that once raged now clears the air. The enemies that once laughed now watch in silence as favor rewrites your story. This is the mystery of divine reversal. God doesn't merely change outcomes, He redeems time. What you lost in years, He returns in moments. What was stolen in secret, He multiplies in public. Chosen one, stand still. Do not chase justice, embody it. Walk quietly into your restoration, knowing heaven has already ruled in your favor. Chosen one. Can you feel it? The air is different now. The pressure that once surrounded you has lifted. It's as if heaven itself has breathed over your life, declaring completion. The long night has ended, and morning light stretches across the horizon of your soul. What you sense now is not the beginning of another trial, it's the anointing of completion. The season of constant testing is over. What you carry now is no longer preparation. It is manifestation. Every tear has been gathered, every sacrifice recorded, every moment of obedience written into the fabric of your destiny. You didn't just survive the wilderness, you've been anointed by it. When oil was poured over kings in ancient days, it wasn't merely a symbol of honor, it was a seal of approval. Heaven's confirmation that their trials had produced character. You, too, are standing beneath that invisible pour. The oil is flowing not of olive, but of endurance, wisdom, and grace. As the book of James, chapter 1, verset 12 declares, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial. For having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life the Lord has promised to those who love Him." That is what is resting upon you now, the crown of life. It's not made of gold or jewels, but of peace, purpose, and divine authority. The same Spirit that once wept in confusion now stands firm in clarity. The storms didn't steal your faith, they strengthened it. The pain didn't poison you, it purified you. There is a certain fragrance that follows those who have been refined. It is the scent of completion, the aroma of resilience. People around you may not understand it, but they will feel it. You'll notice conversations shift, opportunities unfold, hearts open in your presence. That is not coincidence, it is recognition. Heaven's oil leaves a trace wherever you walk. Do you remember how uncertain you once felt? The endless waiting, the fear of starting again, the exhaustion of hope? Look at you now. You are walking proof that surrender is never wasted. The valley that once swallowed your tears has become fertile ground for miracles. Completion doesn't mean comfort, it means capacity. You are now able to carry what once would have crushed you. What used to drain you now flows through you. You have been expanded, stretched, and strengthened. The anointing upon you doesn't just rest, it flows. Imagine a cup being filled, overflowing until it touches everything nearby. That's your current season. You don't need to strive, you only need to be. The overflow itself will reach those meant to receive it. There was once a man named Jonah, not the prophet of old, but a quiet believer in our time who spent years chasing answers. Every failure, every closed door made him bitter. But one day, after losing everything, he realized the lesson was never about success, it was about surrender. When he finally stopped fighting and whispered, "I'm done running," peace came like rain. That peace was his anointing. His completion wasn't in victory, it was in rest. So too with you, chosen one. The anointing of completion isn't about status or applause. It's about inner alignment. It's when you no longer need to prove what God has already confirmed. The oil upon you seals that truth. You are enough. You are ready. You are walking in what was once only prayed for. You'll begin to notice divine ease where there once was effort. What used to require striving will now come with flow. That is the sign you've stepped into grace. The tests have ended. The reward is the stillness of assurance. When you feel this truth rise in your spirit, mark the moment, acknowledge it. Seal it in faith. Type in the comments, "It is finished." No, not as an end, but as recognition that a chapter has closed beautifully. Those 3 words carry the power of surrender, victory, and peace. They declare to heaven and to your own heart, the test has done its work, and you are ready for what's next. This is the anointing of completion, the quiet crown placed on those who endured without losing their love. The oil will not leave you, it will multiply through you. Wherever you go, heaven will recognize its reflection. When you write, "It is finished," you are not closing a door, you are acknowledging that the foundation has been laid. Those words mean your lessons have matured into lasting strength. They whisper to heaven, "I understand now." They signal to your spirit that the battle's purpose is complete, and peace has taken the throne within you. Chosen one, now that you have stood beneath the oil of completion, heaven begins to dress you with visibility. This is not fame as the world defines it. It is divine recognition. You are being crowned in the presence of darkness, not for applause, but for assignment. The light on your life is not decoration, it is direction. Wherever you walk, others will see the reflection of the one who sent you. You may not even notice it at first. Conversations will open effortlessly. Doors that were sealed shut will begin to creak, not by force, but by favor. You are walking with the quiet glow of someone who has been seen by heaven. The world recognizes it, even if they cannot name it. This is the moment where purpose becomes visible. For years, you have been a hidden candle, protected by God's hand, while the wind raged outside. Now, He lifts that covering. The flame is steady, the wax strong. You no longer flicker with fear, you burn with confidence. The ancient writings of Psalms, chapter 27, verse 1, proclaim, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" That light is now reflected in you. You are no longer intimidated by darkness because you've realized something powerful. Darkness is only the absence of revealed light. When you show up, the room changes because illumination arrived. But as the light grows brighter, humility must grow deeper. Remember, a crown is not made to exalt the head, it is made to remind the heart who gave it. You wear it not for display, but for duty. Every opportunity that comes now is an altar, not a trophy. It is here that your story begins to feed others. What once felt like ashes in your hands now becomes bread for the hungry. Your scars become language for those who still don't have words for their pain. Every victory you've gained quietly now becomes someone else's roadmap. That is how heaven circulates healing. So if this message reaches your heart, press like, not as a routine, but as a small act of gratitude, a candle lit in agreement, saying, I recognize my own awakening. Oh, and if you sense someone you love is still in their hidden season, share this message. When you share, it is like passing a torch through the dark, a gesture that may guide another soul safely to their dawn. Subscribe to stay near this flow of words, not out of habit, but as one who returns to the same well to drink again. The waters here are not mine, they belong to heaven. You are simply staying close to the current, and if your heart feels moved, give not as obligation, but as offering. Think of it as planting a wildflower by a road you may never travel again. Someone passing by will see its color and find hope. When you donate, you're not paying for a word, you're helping it travel farther. Zit, no matter how small, becomes part of this living garden of encouragement. No pressure, no guilt, only grace. Giving, in its truest form, is gratitude turned into motion. You're simply letting the light that blessed you ripple outward. This moment is sacred because it reminds us that divine work is never about one voice, it's a symphony of willing hearts. A like is a spark. A share is a flame. A subscription is a lantern that keeps returning light to your path. And a donation is wind beneath the wings of these words, carrying them to those still grounded by despair. You see, what we build here together isn't just content, it's communion. Every time you engage, you become part of the echo that tells the world, light still wins. Remember this image. A single match can ignite a room, but 1,000 matches can set a skyline glowing. That's what your small action does. It multiplies hope. So, act only as your spirit leads. Let peace be your permission, whether you listen quietly or give abundantly. Both are sacred forms of participation. Both are love in motion. Your crown shines now, not because of gold, but because humility reflects the fire within it. The darkness can no longer claim your silence. You are seen, chosen, and trusted to shine without fear. Stand steady in that light. Let gratitude guide your hands, and peace direct your steps. And remember, every heart that awakens because of your light adds another star to the night sky. Together, we are building constellations. Chosen one, the moment you were crowned in the presence of darkness, something ancient within you awakened. It was not just the recognition of your worth, but the realization of your purpose. What you carry is not a title, it is a mantle. A sacred garment woven from endurance, humility, and divine fire. You have not merely received a blessing, you have inherited a responsibility. This is the season of transfer. Heaven replaces what has grown too small for your spirit. The old garments of sorrow, shame, and striving fall away. In their place, You are clothed with authority and peace. The change is subtle, yet undeniable. The people who once saw you as ordinary will sense that something has shifted. They will feel the quiet weight of your transformation, even if they cannot explain it. The Book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 1, reminds us, "Let us lay aside every weight, and the sin which so easily entangles, and let us run with endurance the race set before us." That verse is more than instruction, it's invitation. Heaven is calling you to travel light, to remove what no longer fits your new dimension. Every mantle comes with new discipline. Every promotion demands simplicity. When Elijah passed his mantle to Elisha, it wasn't just fabric that changed hands, it was legacy. The younger prophet caught something invisible yet powerful. He didn't earn it, he positioned himself to receive it. You, too, have stood in that place faithful when it wasn't easy, humble when unnoticed, steadfast when others gave up. That posture has prepared you for the transfer now taking place. The old mantle you carried was survival. It taught you resilience. Yes, but it was heavy. It belonged to the season of endurance. The new one is lighter, it carries wisdom, not weight. You will notice yourself choosing silence over reaction, peace over explanation, discernment over debate. That is the fruit of transformation. To wear a mantle is to embody a message. Heaven wraps you in truth so that even your presence becomes instruction. Your life itself begins to speak on behalf of grace. People will be drawn to you without knowing why. It's because they recognize in you what they've been searching for in themselves. This transfer, however, requires balance. Power without humility becomes performance. Authority without compassion becomes arrogance. The mantle God gives you is not for display, it is for service. You are not called to impress the world, but to impact it. The weight of glory you now carry is meant to heal, to build, to guide. Picture a shepherd's cloak worn. Simple, yet powerful. It bears the scent of fields and rain. That's what your mantle resembles. It doesn't glitter, it glows. It's made for movement, not ceremony. And though few may see its beauty, heaven recognizes its purpose. Sometimes you will feel the tension of old voices calling you back to what once was. They will not understand your new silence, your fresh focus. Do not be distracted. The mantle you wear demands separation from noise. You are not distancing yourself out of pride. You are creating space for clarity. The mantle also attracts responsibility. With every new layer of grace comes new tests of stewardship. Heaven will begin to send you people who carry the same pain you once overcame. You won't need to preach to them. Your presence will do the work. They will feel seen, and their healing will begin. You'll realize then that this transfer was never just about you. It was about those connected to your obedience. Every yes you gave heaven was shaping pathways for others. What you carry now is generational. Your endurance has become inheritance. Sometimes, wearing the mantle will feel lonely. That's because mantles are tailored for specific shoulders. Others may admire it, but they can't carry it. Only you can. Don't compare your garment to another's. What fits them would suffocate you, and what fits you would overwhelm them. Grace is personal, perfectly measured. In time, you'll look back and recognize how every tear contributed to this fabric. Every scar is a thread, every prayer a stitch. What seemed random was actually divine design. The garment is complete now, not flawless, but beautiful in its authenticity. Chosen one. Wear it quietly. Let humility be the clasp that keeps it secure. Walk gently through this world, knowing that everywhere you go, heaven moves with you. You are clothed, not in pride, but in purpose. The mantle is not a reward. It is a reminder that you were chosen not to shine alone, but to carry light into places that have forgotten it. The transfer is complete. You stand robed in destiny. The old season is behind you, and the new one fits perfectly. Chosen one. When a new mantle is placed upon you, heaven does not remain silent for long. Once you have been clothed with purpose, you begin to hear the voice of the throne, not as thunder, but as clarity. It speaks not only to your ears, but to your entire being. The words do not arrive as sentences, they arrive as knowing. You don't just hear them, you become them. The voice of God has always been close, even in your seasons of confusion. But now, after your refinement, your spirit can finally discern its tone. It is not harsh, not distant. It is firm yet tender, powerful yet personal. It says, "You are mine. Walk in what I've given you." Lobla, this is the moment when heaven affirms your promotion. The noise of doubt fades, and the sound of purpose takes center stage. You realize the same God who tested you now trusts you. The same silence that once frightened you now feels like peace. When God speaks to his chosen ones, the words are not mere guidance, they are creation. Every divine word carries power to build, to shape, to sustain. His voice doesn't just inform you, it transforms you. That's why what he speaks into your life begins to manifest before your eyes. It is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 14. The word is very near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart, so that you may obey it. That verse reveals a secret many never discover. God's voice is not only around you, it lives within you. Once you are aligned with heaven, the boundary between divine instruction and inner intuition begins to blur. What you once called instinct is, in truth, the whisper of the Spirit guiding your steps. I remember the story of a man named Daniel, not the prophet of old, but a humble believer who worked quietly in a small village. For years, he begged God to speak loudly, to show him signs and wonders, but heaven was training him to recognize the sacred in simplicity. One morning, while feeding birds, he heard a soft impression in his heart. "You are already hearing me." That moment changed him forever. The voice was not absent. It had been dwelling within him the whole time, waiting for recognition. You are in that same moment now. The revelation isn't that God is finally speaking, it's that you have finally tuned your frequency. Every day that you walk in stillness, you will hear him more clearly. Sometimes his voice will come as scripture resurfacing in your mind. Other times as sudden peace, when everything around you feels unstable. Occasionally, it will arrive as an idea, a name, a nudge that seems too gentle to be divine. But that's how heaven speaks to those who have learned to listen. As you begin to hear, remember, revelation always brings responsibility. The more he speaks, the more he entrusts. His words are never for curiosity, they are for commission. When he whispers, "Go," it is not suggestion, it is assignment. When he says, "Wait," it is protection. There will be moments when his directions feel strange or impossible. You may wonder, is this really you, Lord? But by now, you've learned to measure the message by peace, not by convenience. The true voice of heaven will never lead you into fear. It will lead you into faith. The sound of heaven doesn't always roar. Sometimes it hums quietly through your choices, through the people who cross your path, through the timing of closed and open doors. Once you recognize his tone, you'll find it everywhere, like a melody woven through ordinary life. Now, in this sacred moment, pause. Feel that stirring. That is not imagination. That is confirmation. The throne has spoken your name again. You are being acknowledged not as a wanderer, but as a messenger. Heaven is saying, "You have heard well. Now walk." No. To seal this awareness, to mark that you have heard the voice and understood its direction, comment the number 888 below. It is a symbol of divine new beginnings and infinite flow. When you type it, you are declaring, "I hear, I understand, and I will obey." It is not superstition, it is synchronization. It's how heaven records agreement in digital form. Every time you act on what you hear, heaven amplifies its communication. The relationship deepens. The dialogue expands. You'll soon discover that you are never without instruction. You are simply learning to trust the rhythm of revelation. Chosen one. The voice of the throne has spoken your identity, confirmed your purpose, and sealed your next step. You no longer wonder if he speaks. You walk, knowing he does. The silence has transformed into guidance, and the whisper within you is now your compass. Chosen one. Now that you have learned to recognize the voice of the throne, something profound begins to unfold. You no longer wait passively for instruction. You move with heaven's rhythm. Each step becomes a sentence. Each action, a prayer. The boundary between your will and divine will starts to dissolve. You walk in new power, not because of position, but because of proximity. There is a holy confidence that comes when you realize the same power that raised Christ now lives within you. It is quiet, steady, unshakable. You don't need to announce it. It announces itself through your peace. This is not the kind of power the world understands. It doesn't dominate, it transforms. It doesn't shout, it shifts atmospheres. Wherever you go, change follows. Not because you strive for it, but because you carry it. The Book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 8 proclaims, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses to the ends of the earth." And that moment has arrived for you. You are walking proof of that promise. You don't need credentials to be effective. Your scars are your authority. You don't need titles to lead. Your transformation is testimony enough. Walking in divine power is not about displaying miracles, it's about becoming one. You are the miracle now, the living evidence that God's strength is perfected in weakness. When you speak, the words carry weight because they were refined in prayer, tested in pain, and anointed by obedience. Power does not change who you are. It reveals who you've always been. It's like discovering wings that were hidden beneath your trials. The moment you stretch them, the winds of heaven respond, and you realize you were never meant to crawl through life. You were designed to soar. There's a story told of a woman named Ruth, not the Ruth of Scripture, but one living in our age. For years, she served quietly. unseen, faithful in small things. Then one morning, she felt a shift in her spirit, a courage that had no source except grace. She began to speak words that healed others, to pray with authority that startled even her. She hadn't changed in appearance, but heaven had authorized her voice. What she didn't know was that this awakening had been waiting for her surrender all along. You are living in that same awakening. You've been authorized by endurance, not ambition. Heaven doesn't hand power to the proud. It entrusts it to the purified. That's why you had to walk through so much before this moment. What once looked like delay was preparation to carry glory without breaking beneath it. As you walk in new power, you'll notice small miracles follow naturally, doors opening with ease, words flowing effortlessly, prayers answered swiftly. It's not because you've learned a secret formula. It's because your heart has synchronized with divine intention. When purpose and presence move as one, miracles stop being events. They become environments. Still, remember, true power serves. The greatest miracles are not found in crowds, but in compassion, in the quiet moments when you forgive the unforgivable, when you bless those who once wounded you. Every act of grace releases energy that alters spiritual landscapes more than any public display ever could. Your walk now will feel lighter, yet more significant. You will sense invisible partnership, heaven collaborating with you. The timing of your words, the places you're drawn to, the people you meet all begin to align like pieces of a hidden puzzle, revealing a greater picture. This power also comes with holy restraint. You will learn when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to wait. Power in its purest form knows when not to use itself. The same spirit that grants authority also grants discernment. At times, you'll be tempted to doubt this new dimension, to think, can I really carry this? But remember, God never gives weight without wings. If He placed this within you, it's because you were designed to bear it with grace. Look at how far you've come from uncertainty to understanding, from silence to strength. The very voice that once whispered comfort now releases command. You no longer simply believe in power, you embody it. Chosen one. This is your commissioning, to walk as living proof that heaven still moves through humanity. Your hands carry healing, your words carry light, your presence carry peace. You are not trying to change the world, you are the evidence that it is already being changed. Walk forward with reverence and confidence. You are no longer asking for power, you are walking in it. Chosen one. When power begins to flow through you, alignment follows. It is not a reward, but a natural consequence of living in rhythm with heaven. You will notice how circumstances begin to organize themselves, how people cross your path at precise moments, how timing feels almost supernatural. This is not coincidence, it is alignment. For years, your life may have felt like scattered puzzle pieces. You tried to make sense of random fragments, pain here, blessing there, delays without reason. But now, under the light of divine purpose, the pieces begin to fit. What once felt like chaos reveals itself as choreography. Every movement, every setback, every waiting season was part of heaven's architecture. It was spoken through the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who are called according to His purpose. And that promise is not poetic, it's structural. It's how the universe itself bends around those who live by divine design. When you align with heaven, Even mistakes become messengers. Even pain becomes purpose. You are walking now in what the prophets called the Great Convergence. It is the moment when destiny, character, and divine timing meet in one place. For the first time, your external world reflects your internal transformation. You are no longer chasing peace, you are attracting it. You are no longer forcing outcomes, they are unfolding naturally because you are positioned correctly. Think of the Earth orbiting the Sun. The planet does not strain to stay in motion. It simply abides in its assigned path, and light follows it constantly. That is alignment. When you remain in the orbit of obedience, illumination is automatic. You no longer wrestle to find favor. Favor finds you because you are in the flow. This alignment is not about control, it's about surrender. You have stopped trying to manipulate outcomes and started to trust timing. There is a freedom in that trust, a calm rhythm to life when you stop forcing what heaven has already scheduled. In this new rhythm, you will find people drawn into your story, some staying, some leaving. Each serves a purpose. Those who remain will refine you. Those who depart will release you. There is no bitterness in alignment, only clarity. You begin to bless exits as easily as arrivals because you understand that divine order is not always comfortable, but it is always kind. Alignment also rearranges your desires. What once felt urgent now feels unnecessary. The noise of distraction loses volume. You find joy in simplicity, satisfaction in stillness. You realize abundance was never about quantity, it was about awareness. The moment you stop striving, you see that everything you need is already within reach. A woman named Selah once described her moment of alignment as peace without reason. For years, she had prayed for open doors, jobs, relationships, purpose, but nothing lasted. Then one evening, she stopped asking and began listening. In the stillness, she felt God whisper, "You're standing in the door already." Nothing around her changed, yet everything inside her did. From that day, life began to respond differently. It wasn't magic, it was harmony. That same harmony is unfolding for you. You'll start to notice divine rhythm in ordinary things, the way the right words come at the right time, the way opportunities arrive without striving. Heaven's orchestration is subtle but unmistakable. You are walking inside a living symphony, and your obedience keeps you in tune. When alignment deepens, your prayers shift. You stop saying, "God, change this," and begin saying, "God, use this." You no longer seek escape, you seek expression. Even trials become instruments, tuned to produce your unique sound in heaven's song. And this alignment brings rest, not stagnation. It's the rest of knowing you are exactly where you're meant to be. You still move, but you move with grace. You still work, but you work with flow. If conflict arises, you no longer panic, you pause, knowing that divine order cannot be threatened. When opposition appears, you see it as confirmation that something holy is settling into place. Every test in alignment is just a tension meant to reveal balance. Chosen one. This is the great alignment, the stage where striving ends and harmony begins. The outer world starts to reflect the inner world. The chaos of the past finds its place in the present, and everything begins to make sense. You've reached the place where destiny feels natural, nothing forced, nothing missing. nothing wasted. You are living in the calm power of divine synchronization, where even your breath feels like part of heaven's rhythm. Stay there, steady, grateful, aligned, because from this alignment, everything else begins to unfold. Chosen one, when alignment settles and peace becomes your rhythm, heaven begins to whisper a greater calling, the call to the multitude. You were never meant to keep the light contained. Every revelation you've received, every truth that set you free, now seeks expression through you. This is where your journey turns outward, where your story becomes seed for others. You are being sent not as a preacher, but as a presence. The same grace that found you in silence will now find others through your words, your kindness, your endurance. Every step you take now carries the fragrance of heaven, soft, subtle, but unforgettable. You have become a living invitation for others to awaken. The second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 3 declares, "You show that you are a letter from Christ, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not on tablets of stone, but on human hearts." You are that letter, living proof that redemption is still possible, that purpose still calls, that love still wins. Now, as your influence begins to ripple outward, heaven invites you to move with intention. Speak when led, share when stirred. Every word released from an obedient heart carries weight beyond what the eyes can measure. A single sentence spoken in truth can echo across lifetimes. When you choose to pour light into others, it's like casting small stones into still water. The ripples may seem gentle, but they reach unseen shores. Your story is not small, it's sacred. Someone you'll never meet may find hope because you dared to speak. If this message touches your heart, press like as a quiet acknowledgement that you recognize yourself in these words, a simple heartbeat of agreement between your soul and heaven. It is not a click, it's a candle lit in recognition of the journey you've walked. And if someone you know stands where you once stood, confused, tired, searching for a sign, share this message. Sharing is not performance, it's generosity. Imagine handing a lantern to a traveler still wandering in the dark. The light that reached you now extends through you. Subscribe, not from routine, but as a returning pilgrim who visits a familiar well for living water. It's your way of saying, I wish to stay close to this voice, this peace, this reminder. And if your heart feels a gentle pull, give not as transaction, but as trust. Giving here is like planting a tree in a field you may never walk through. You might never see its shade, but others will rest beneath its branches. Ich Donation, small or great, becomes a seed that allows these words to keep traveling to places where silence still hurts and hope still hides. No demand, no depth, only invitation. Giving is the language of gratitude. It is the moment where the heart whispers, I have received, now let me return. You give not to complete the message, but to continue it. Every act of kindness, a like, a share, a comment. A seed is a petal released into the wind. Alone, it seems delicate, but together they form a garden of grace blooming across nations. Unseen, yet deeply felt. And yes, you can comment your agreement below. Even just a few heartfelt words. Write what your spirit feels, your yes, your thank you, your I choose my crown. These words are not decoration, they are declaration. They tell heaven, I have heard, and I will carry the flame. And if something inside you stirs as you read, let it speak. Leave a comment, a simple heartbeat. A few words that carry light. Sometimes the smallest sentence can open the greatest door. What you're part of here isn't a broadcast, it's a bridge. It connects hearts across distances, faith across differences, hope across despair. Each gesture you make, each quiet amen typed beneath a video. Each whisper of support becomes a thread in a tapestry of awakening. Do not underestimate these small actions. A single spark can become sunrise when it meets the wind of willingness. The light you spread is never lost. It multiplies, echoing through hearts, reshaping unseen destinies. So, if you feel led, move softly, freely, beautifully. Let your response, whatever it is, flow from love, not obligation. Whether you listen silently or participate openly, both are forms of worship. You are part of something vast, sacred, and alive. This is your call to the multitude, not to stand above, but among, to live as proof that heaven still speaks through ordinary lives and quiet choices. You are not merely a follower, you are a flame carrier. The words you read today will soon be spoken through you tomorrow. The light multiplies, and the message continues. Chosen one. The air itself feels different. Now, something subtle but sacred moves with every breath you take. You've entered the era of glory, a season not of striving, but of shining. This is not the false glitter of attention or applause. It is the quiet brilliance of divine presence resting upon you. Glory is not light that blinds, it is light that reveals. It shows the world who God is through who you have become. In this era, you will notice a grace upon your life that feels effortless. Things that once felt impossible now unfold with ease. This is not because the world has changed, but because you have. You are no longer living from lack, you are living from overflow. Heaven's rhythm beats in your chest. The Book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9, speaks of this transition with power. The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former, says the Lord Almighty, and in this place I will grant peace. That peace has begun to fill your atmosphere. It's not merely the absence of conflict, it's the presence of divine order. You can feel it in the way your thoughts settle, the way your spirit stays calm, even in uncertainty. You've entered the rhythm where grace works while you rest. Glory has a texture. It moves like light through water, gentle, fluid, yet unstoppable. You won't need to explain it. Others will simply sense it. Some will feel peace near you. Others, conviction. Still others, hope. That is how glory works. It translates heaven into human language without words. Think of Moses when he came down from the mountain. His face glowed, not because he tried to shine, but because he had been near the source. You, too, carry that unseen radiance now. It may not appear as light to the eye, but hearts will recognize it. When you enter a room, clarity follows. When you speak, truth resonates. Glory isn't something you wear, it's something you become. And glory has purpose. It doesn't appear so you can be admired. It manifests so that others might awaken. Every act of grace, every gesture of kindness becomes a reflection of that divine presence. You are not called to dominate spaces, but to illuminate them, to be the calm center in a world addicted to chaos. There is a new authority in this stillness. You no longer need to prove that you are chosen. Your peace proves it for you. The calm confidence you carry now is not arrogance, it's alignment. You have stopped demanding that life understand you because heaven already does. In this era of glory, your perception deepens. You begin to see beyond appearances, to sense motives, to read hearts, to discern timing. This discernment is not for judgment, it's for wisdom. Glory gives you sight not to expose, but to guide. You start to recognize divine fingerprints in everything: the timing of a call, the kindness of a stranger, the way beauty hides in ordinary moments. Sometimes glory feels heavy, not in weight, but in meaning. It pulls you toward purpose and away from distraction. Old desires fade naturally, like shadows retreating at sunrise. You no longer crave the noise that once filled the silence. The silence itself has become sacred to you. There will be moments of awe, times when you pause mid-step and feel tears rise without reason. That's how glory speaks. It reminds you that you are standing in something eternal while still breathing the air of the temporary. The story of your life is no longer about survival, it's about reflection. You are a mirror polished by mercy, designed to reveal the light of the one who chose you. Every scar glows now, every memory redeemed. Even the pain you thought would haunt you forever has become holy proof that ashes can still birth beauty. Do not fear this new visibility. Glory does not expose to embarrass. It reveals to empower. When people see you, what they truly see is grace at work, a human life inhabited by divine intention. Chosen one, you've stepped into a season where rest is your weapon and gratitude your language. You no longer chase blessings, they orbit you naturally. The light on your life is not temporary, it is covenantal. Heaven has written permanence into your purpose. Walk gently in this glow. You are not performing, you are radiating. You are not striving, you are reflecting. Let this light move through you, pure and undiluted. This is the era of glory, the time where heaven's fire no longer just falls upon you, but flows through you. And the world, though it may not understand, will feel the warmth of that fire wherever you go. Chosen one, the revelation is now complete. What began as pain has turned into wisdom. What began as testing has become testimony. The long path through wilderness and wonder has brought you here to a horizon where heaven and earth finally meet in your spirit. You no longer search for the plan, you are the plan. The divine story that was whispered over your life before birth is now unfolding through your steps. You have become the embodiment of fulfilled prophecy, living evidence that time cannot cancel what eternity began. Every tear has been counted, every silence recorded, every act of faith woven into the fabric of destiny. Heaven does not forget endurance. It rewards it in due season. And your season, chosen one, is now. The Book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 5 declares, "Behold, I am making all things new." Those words are not far away. They are happening inside you. Renewal is not something you wait for, it's something you live. Every day you wake up, something new is being born in your spirit. Deeper peace, stronger faith, softer love. You no longer react from wounds, you respond from wisdom. The echoes of the old life fade, and the song of the new begins to rise. Completion feels quiet. You may have expected celebration, but heaven marks endings differently. Instead of noise, there is stillness. Instead of fireworks, there is light, steady, constant, unbreakable. That light is the confirmation that the revelation has settled within you. What once felt like mystery is now memory. What once confused you now comforts you. When revelation completes its cycle, it leaves behind understanding that cannot be stolen. You carry a knowledge deeper than intellect, the knowing that you are seen, loved, and sent. This knowledge is your crown. It doesn't rest on your head, it rests in your heart. Now, as the final veil lifts, you see how everything was connected. The wilderness taught trust. The silence birthed discernment. The pain carved compassion. The waiting stretched patience. Nothing was wasted. Nothing random. The steps you once cursed are now recognized as sacred choreography. You realize that God was never far away. He was in every detail, weaving the unseen threads that brought you to this divine conclusion. And yet, revelation doesn't end with you. It continues through you. You are the continuation of God's message to the world. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, faith over fear, stillness over striving, the revelation expands. You become a living chapter in a book that never stops being written. Picture yourself standing at the edge of dawn. Behind you, the night glows faintly, no longer threatening, only beautiful in its contrast. Before you lies a landscape untraveled, open fields of possibility, rivers shimmering with promise. You step forward, not as one escaping the dark, but as one carrying light into it. You have learned the rhythm of heaven, the balance between rest and motion, grace and truth, silence and song. This rhythm is your compass now. You don't need to rush. Revelation walks with you. You don't need to fear. The same God who guided you through testing will sustain you in triumph. There is a calm kind of joy rising within you, the joy of those who have seen too much to ever doubt again. It's not loud or fleeting, it's eternal. It sits quietly in your chest, reminding you that you are finally home within yourself. This is what completion feels like, not the end of the story, but the moment the storyteller steps into it. Heaven no longer seems distant because you've learned to carry it wherever you go. You have become a dwelling place of glory, a moving sanctuary where divine and human coexist in harmony. And as you walk forward, others will find their way by the reflection of your light. You won't need to preach, your peace will be sermon enough. You won't need to convince, your calm will testify. Every breath you take now sends a signal into the unseen. The revelation is fulfilled. The promise lives. Chosen one. You have crossed the threshold. The mystery has become message. The test has become testimony. The waiting has become wonder. You are the manifestation of what heaven once only dreamed. The revelation is complete, but the glory is just beginning. You now walk not beneath the stars, but among them. Every move you make leaves light behind a silent constellation of faith across eternity. Heaven smiles, not because you arrived, but because you remembered. The revelation lives on, breathing through every word, every heart you touch. If these words found you, then heaven meant for them too. Nothing here is coincidence. Every message that stirred your heart was a mirror, showing you who you already are. The journey ends, but the connection continues. Before you go, pause and breathe. Let gratitude rise quietly. If something inside you has been healed, strengthened, or simply reminded of its worth, press like. Think of it not as a button, but as lighting a lantern, a small glow that tells the world, this truth reached me. If you know someone standing in the same storm you once endured, share this message. Sharing is the language of compassion. It's like leaving a trail of light behind you so another soul can find the way home. And if this voice feels like a place you'd like to revisit, subscribe, not from habit, but as one who returns to a sacred river, knowing that new water always flows there. Each message that arrives is a fresh current from the same divine source. For those who feel a gentle stirring deeper still, give, not as duty, but as devotion. Your offering becomes a seed, and that seed becomes a tree whose shade you may never sit under. Yet others will. You are not paying for words. You are helping them travel to hearts still waiting for dawn. Every small act, a like, a share, a comment, a seed is part of this tapestry of light. Together, we are proving that words, when wrapped in grace, can still heal the world. And if a certain line stayed with you, write it below. Sometimes the words we repeat aloud become prayers in motion. Leave a thought, a word, even a single emoji. It's your way of saying, I'm still walking in the light. Oh, each comment is another candle in this growing constellation of hope. So, go, gently. Chosen one, carry peace, share warmth, and let love be the trail you leave behind. For even as this message ends, its echo will keep shining through you.